Goedenavond, dames en heren, beste boeren, geachte vice-ministerpresident Krevits, minister Bruns, beste Lode. Het doet mij plezier hier deze avond te kunnen zijn op de Nazomerontmoeting georganiseerd door de Boerenbond en de landelijke gilden. Ik zal nu niet op Nederlands spreken, maar mijn moeder is uit de Nederlandse Limburg, daarom begrijp ik het meeste. And I have to say, it's even better to see so many of you present here in Brussels, despite the general strike, and that you made your way here to the beautiful surroundings of the Berlaymont, where we work all day long. And Flanders is, of course, a region known for its rich agriculture heritage, a region that has always been at the forefront of innovation, quality, and resilience in European farming. And I am here today to share with you how the European Commission's proposal for the future CAP will support and strengthen this legacy. And our aim is very clear. We want to build an EU food and farming sector that is attractive, competitive, ready for the future, and fair, and a sector powered by innovation and research and based on dialogue and partnership across the food chain. And to make this vision a reality, we must simplify our rules, invest in innovation, and work hand in hand with all the stakeholders, including you, the Flemish farmers and organizations, and the ministry, to shape the future together. And in July, the Commission presented its proposals for the next budget for 2028 to 2034, along with the future CAP. And let me explain it with some key features. This proposal fully acknowledges the central role of farmers for our food security. Their income support, which we defined to include all the measures and money that lands directly on the farm, is guaranteed thanks to a minimum ring-fenced budget of 300 billion euros. And ring-fenced budget means that it is protected. It can only be used for the purpose of supporting farmers and agriculture, and it cannot be used for other purposes. And the next CAP keeps all the current existing tools that you are very familiar with: agri-environmental actions, investments, support for young farmers, sectorial programs, and of course rural development. And so when some say that the second pillar is gone, look again. Not only it is still there as a mandatory, but the majority of key measures are even within this ring fencing of 80% of the tools of the current CAP. And let me stress again that the ring fenced amount is a minimum guaranteed level. Member States will invest their bigger envelope based on their needs and planning in different policy areas covered by the national and regional plans. And here it is important to underline that in the case of agriculture, member states are under the obligation to fund certain interventions that fall outside this ring-fenced budget of at least 300 billion, such as, for example, LEADER, but as well off-farm investments. And given the unpredictable world we live in, our proposal also includes within this ring-fenced budget a significant unity safety net with a dedicated budget of 900 million euros per year, and this means that we are effectively doubling the current agriculture reserve to face market disturbances. And I have to say, we have with 450 million currently, with all the different problems we face in the 27 member states, this is simply not sufficient. And in addition to this funding, agriculture can benefit from the European Competitiveness Fund and the Horizon programme, where around 40 billion euros will be available to foster research and innovation in the area of agriculture, health and the bioeconomy. And I think your title of today, Grondstoff for Morgen, is exactly covering this idea of the bioeconomy. And this is very important for an innovation powerhouse such as Flanders. And the next CAP will also target support more effectively. The direct payments per hectare, the area-based support will be ring-fenced and fully financed by the EU budget, and this does not change. But we are making other proposals to make sure that it supports those who need it the most. And degressivity and capping will ensure that small and family-sized farms, as well as young farmers, get the appropriate support. And it is important to preserve the diversity of our farming sector, and I think it would be wrong to play big against small and small against big. We will need them all for the future. But this capping and degressivity will not apply to investments, it will not apply to agro-environmental and climate actions and other interventions. So this is as well an opportunity for larger farms to top up what they receive and invest in our long-term competitiveness and environmental sustainability. And additionally, coupled income support has been significantly strengthened, which sends a positive message to the livestock sector and also to the ones who want to grow, for example, more plant proteins. And our objectives is still to combine food production with the protection of natural resources. And for all beneficiaries of income support, a new farm stewardship is proposed. It contains environmental requirements which have been significantly streamlined and made more pragmatic, as well as protective practices to be designed by the member states. Because you all know what the farmers always criticize the most, and I've meanwhile traveled to 24 of the 27 member states in the 10 months of my mandate, and it is mostly the conditionality in the first pillar that is of concern. It is not practicable because when you go in the same week to Sweden and to Cyprus, the agriculture is completely different, and that is why this conditionality is, with this proposal, gone and will represent the biggest possible simplification. And we are also creating a new category of transition payments in the form of a lump sum payments of up to 200,000 euros to accompany farms to take up agricultural practices like agroecology or organic farming, just to give you a few examples. And farming practices, farming faces, of course, many challenges, and next week I will present my generational renewal strategy, because I said in the beginning, we need to ensure as well food security for the future, and we all know the dramatic figures in the field of the young farmers. Currently at EU level, less than 12% of the farmers are below the age of 40 years, and the average age is above 57 years of age. So if we don't change that trend, I believe we will not be able to deliver on the food security for the future. I also see that in certain member states it is worse than in Belgium. I've been to Portugal, for example. There 3.8% of the farmers only are below the age of 40, and more than half of the recipients of CAP money are above 65 years of age, and that is of course very worrying. In Austria, they are the best in that field in the European Union. They have around 24% of the farmers are below the age of 40. So I think it is very important as well to look at what they are doing well and get inspiration, because it is a combination of European policies and of national politics as well. And I think that is something where we need to see. And this means we have to address the barriers that deter young people from joining the profession in the first place. And this is a prime example of where synergies, as I said, across policy will as well deliver results. And each member state will have to set a national or regional generational renewal strategy, linking the CAP instruments with broader policies from rural infrastructure, because I think it's very important as well to make the rural areas attractive for the young generations, but as well to look into pension systems, what can be done in order to make it more attractive for the older farmers to go to the retirement and hand over the land to the next generation. And I believe that here, of course, Flanders is already doing quite well. Flanders in 2023, 35% of CAP payments went to young farmers under 40 years of age, and 55% of all investment aid was directed as well to them. And this, I have to say, is an impressive result, and I'm confident that the new CAP will help boost these numbers even further. And for generation renewal to be sustainable in the long run, we also need to make sure that there are, as I said, thriving rural areas. We want to make rural areas attractive places to live, to work, and to innovate. And I have to say, I was, for example, as well in Sweden. I met a young female dairy farmer, and she told me, in my region, I have to choose either kids or cows. And I was a little bit laughing in the first place, what do you mean by that? And she said, well, the next childcare facility is 1 hour drive away. So I have to drive 1 hour in the morning, come back, already 2 hours, and the same procedure again in the evening, 4 hours. Who could really afford that when they are already working 12 to 14 hours a day? And so that is why we need to make, that is just one example, why we need to make our rural areas more attractive again. And rural innovation and entrepreneurship will be supported, so LEADER will continue to be mandatory as well, even if it's not in the ring-fenced amount, and it will benefit from an integrated approach, allowing member states to pool resources and even be more impactful. And at the moment, more than 80% of the rural population in Flanders is covered by the work of LEADER local action groups, and this can go on with adequate funding from the national and regional plan. And innovation, research and access to farm advisory services remain central as well to our new approach. And last week we marked the World Mental Health Day, and for the first time we stress the importance of advisory services and raising awareness about mental health issues in the sector and the rural areas, because we know that the suicide rate amongst farmers is as well amongst the highest in the different economic sectors. And for the first time, too, the CAP will support farm relief services, ensuring that farmers can take time off for sickness, for example, childbirth, or even holidays. And farmers, in my opinion, deserve this balance and relief from their daily duties, as we all do in our daily life. And final word, maybe on the structure and its inherent simplification. The merging of the two pillars of the current common agriculture policy will remove the current rules that make the reallocation between pillars difficult and limited. And all the tools, you know, remain in our policy framework, but the CAP will now stand on one big foundation instead of two pillars that were not exactly the same in all the member states. Because I have been just yesterday in Malta, they have, for example, shifted all their money to the first pillar, so it is very difficult as well to compare and see the commonness of the common agriculture policy. So I believe with this proposal we're making the C even bigger in that. And our proposal also, as I mentioned earlier, represents a major simplification on top of the simplification proposals we already presented. You know that we did this already very early in the mandate for the current common agriculture policy. So there as well, and I hope we will finalize the interinstitutional negotiations with the Parliament this week. That's at least the intention, because we need to deliver this simplification already now in October in order that it applies and that you feel it on your farms from the next calendar years. But we will, of course, not be resting on our laurels once this is done, hopefully on Friday. more simplification proposals are to come, and that I discussed this already with Lode just before. This will, of course, be the key to begin addressing the issues that Flemish farming faces most, actually, for example, in the area of permitting, and also while maintaining the objectives, we must make sure that the regulatory framework remains conducive to rolling out solutions that keep farming sustainable and viable for the future. But I also say that simplification is a process, and we won't stop until we get the point where doing business or farming in the EU becomes free of excessive burden. And I also would like to say that we are working very closely not only on the agriculture field, because again, when I travel to the member states, most of the concerns are actually not directly coming from the common agriculture policy, but are coming from environmental obligations, are coming from reporting obligations, are coming as well from the phytosanitary area, and I think that is something where we really need to deliver. Our farmers want as well fair conditions when it comes to competition with third countries, and when we speak, for example, about plant protection products, we know that we are very quick in taking off plant protection products from the market, but we are the slowest in the world on putting those new products back on the market, and that is why with my colleague Vareli we are heavily working on this point as well, and I believe that it is very important that we deliver there as well, because products are coming in. The second point, of course, on that is that we need to be stronger on the control side, because the best rules don't serve the purpose if we don't enforce them, if we don't control them. And that is why we clearly say as well, if a plant protection product is, for example, taken off the market in the European Union because it is bad for human health, because it is bad for pollinators, it shouldn't be allowed to come back in with a different product, and our farmers are suffering the losses. This is not fair. That isn't understood by the farmers, and it isn't understood by the consumers, and we are determined to make this happen. And I also would like to say that Europe's future is written not only by policymakers in Brussels or Strasbourg, but also with you on the ground, and this is why I visited already farms in Flanders, and my very first visit actually went to the Magnus family Whitlaw farm in Brussegem, and meanwhile 23 other member states have followed, and by the end of the first year I will have visited the 27 member states as I promised, because as I said, this is very important to take all the farmers in all the regions, even if in certain regions there are bigger challenges. We need them all for ensuring a strong and productive agriculture for the future. Food security is often taken for granted. This Commission clearly recognizes it is very important to see it as a priority area. We see that agriculture products are weaponized on a geopolitical level, and that is why we need to avoid to drop into dependencies that we see with other products. Let's just look at the medicines, let's just look at semiconductors, where we are heavily dependent on third countries. I don't want us to be dependent on food from third countries, meaning that we are not able to control anymore the quantity and the quality for something we need 3 times a day, and that is why I'm very determined to make our farming sector future-proof together with you and for the next generation. And I would like to thank you very much for your commitment and the good cooperation that we have already had during this first 10 months of my mandate, and I'm looking forward to the next 4 years. Thank you very much, and enjoy the evening.